and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. I am one of your hosts. I'm Kyrie.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're doing another one of our Arts and Charts episodes, and we're going to be comparing, this is kind of we keep calling it our fish out of water episode. We're going to be discussing Disney's The Little Mermaid and Studio Ghibli's Ponyo.
Yes, I can't get the Ponyo theme song out of my head, so...
Same.
Hard
same. The entire next day I was just like...
Both of them were decently... Obviously, The Little Mermaid, very popular and very successful, but Ponyo was actually quite successful as well, from what I could tell, from both its original release and its dub and English release. So they're both very well charts type movies, but perhaps a good example of arts versus charts as far as mainstream American understanding.
Yeah, I mean, Little Mermaid kicked off the Disney Renaissance. It was pretty much it was a major part of every millennial's childhood. Studio Ghibli is just a little more niche. I'm enough in film circles and stuff that Studio Ghibli is a pretty big thing, at least in the circles I'm in. But I would say Ghibli is becoming more mainstream, and for a while there, it was even Disney doing the distribution, which is also a big reason why, like, the dubbing usually is pretty good. I still am very much in the subbed camp. I'm still very much, it's funny when I'm texting, my girlfriend about seeing movies, and I was like, well, no, we will be watching it with subtitles, like civilized people. We will not be like the heathens watching this dubbed.
It's a funny thing too when you think about, and it's this balance between getting people who are professional voice actors, right, that do like cartoons and those types of things, versus name draws that you want to say is dubbing your movie so that people will come, like Tina Fey and Liam Neeson and Matt Damon, who are all in this Ponyo dub. And it's funny. I think Tina Fey, does a really good job as the mom, and the other voices, I think, do well as well.
Yeah, and I think that trend was kind of started with Shrek, honestly, because Shrek was like, look, we have Cameron Diaz. And yeah, I don't much care for that trend, to be completely honest. I think that's one of the reasons that Frozen did so well, and I like Frozen quite a bit, is they got Broadway actors. They got people who knew how to be expressive. They got people who knew how to voice act to a degree, how to have that kind of, not quite over the top, but like very dramatic vocal flair. So Little Mermaid, came out in 1989, directed by John Clements and John Musker. They also did Aladdin, Hercules, Great Mouse Detective, Treasure Planet, Princess and the Frog, and Moana. So they've done a handful. Starring Jodie Benson as our leading mermaid. And I would love to get into this in a little while. Alan Menken and Howard Ashman on the music. The music won 2 Oscars, Best Score and Best Original Song. It was nominated, kind of how Beauty and the Beast, it was nominated for 3 songs. This one, it was nominated for 2. It was nominated for Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl. And I do want to get into the score in a bit, but do you kind of know the history, how this got made, why it got made?
No, I know that obviously a older Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale that is a lot darker than maybe The Little Mermaid is.
Much darker.
Yeah, I don't know any of the logistics of how this one came together, though. Would love to hear.
So, have you seen The Black Cauldron?
I have, yes.
That movie's a hot mess. That movie almost single-handedly put Disney out of business.
It's a wild one.
So Black Cauldron came out, did horribly.
What's that pig, that weird little creature's name? Doesn't it have a funny name? Do you know?
There is a pig, but there's also Gurgi is the first.
Gurgi, that's the name. Yeah. That's a great name. Sorry, I just had to.
But then they did the Great
Gurgi almost ruined Disney.
Gurgi almost ruined Disney. Then yeah, Great Mouse Detective was pretty good. Oliver and Company was not, and I forget the guy's name. He was basically like, scrap the animation program. He wanted to really put the money into the parks. He was like, I think the parks are what It's going to be our moneymaker. Let's put the focus on that. He was ready to pretty much, I mean, he gutted the Disney animation program. He was ready to get rid of it. So people went into Little Mermaid kind of knowing like, this is our last shot.
Wow.
Like, this is our thing. This is either going to make this or break this. And they got Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, which I think is just brilliant, because they had already done Little Shop of Horrors at this point. And basically, the animation program said, we're going to go back to the princess formula. Like, we're going to go back to the fairy tale formula. Because they hadn't really done a princess movie since Sleeping Beauty, which was like in the 50s.
Jeez, yeah, when you think about that, yeah.
So they were like, okay, we're going back to the princess formula, and we're gonna make it a musical, and not just a musical the way like, because Cinderella was, a few of the others, but they were like, we are gonna make this like a Broadway hit. We're gonna make this a big Broadway musical. We're gonna hire 2 Broadway guys to come do this thing, and we're gonna make this a spectacle, and that's what they did.
Wow. Yeah, they did a great job.
So I do have a question for you, and since we're on the topic of the music. Do you have like a favorite song from Little Mermaid?
Yeah, I've been thinking through this. I'll say my note for this podcast when it comes to the music is I just said music bangers. Because really, you're just
Yes.
it really ties this movie together really nicely. Because sometimes when you are rewatching a movie, and I'll get to this a little bit later when we do ratings, I'm gonna have a really hard time. I still don't know what I'm gonna say when we rate this movie. Of looking at movies that I watched a lot when I was a kid all the time, it's hard for me to come back objectively of what I. What I'm going to rate that. With Disney movies especially, that was our rule on Sundays. We could only watch Disney movies. So I watched a lot of Disney movies over the course of the years. But what I was saying, with some movies, it's like you get to this part of the movie that you're looking forward to and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. And then after that, you're like, okay, let's wrap this up. But with this movie, it's like, oh, wait, we still haven't heard Kiss the Girl yet. Oh, wait, there's still... Poor Unfortunate Souls. There's a lot of really good songs going and going and going that keeps you engaged, which I think it does maybe lose steam for me a little bit after Kiss the Girl, because there aren't as many of those touch points of things I'm looking forward to. And I've never really cared for the big boat battle Kraken thing at the end. So anyway, that's a long way of saying my answer is Kiss the Girl.
Okay. No, I get that.
I think I know your answer. And what do you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, well, what is your guess?
I at least know what's the scene, at least with the song attached. I assume the song goes with it. Part of your world.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. My brother is an animator, and we've talked about this scene so many times. And it's one of those things that because I had recently seen Little Mermaid, so I didn't review the whole thing. I didn't rewatch the entire thing for the podcast because I've seen it. I was watching the Disney movies in the order that they came out. And so Little Mermaid was up, and then I ended up showing it to my brother, I think. So I watched it, and then a few months later, one of my brothers visited me for my birthday in January. We watched it, and then I showed it to my girlfriend a couple months after that. So I've probably seen it 3 times in the past year. So I was like, we don't need to revisit Little Mermaid, but I did just watch highlights. Part of your world is, I was going to get into it later, but I want to talk a little bit about it now. The animator is Glenn Keane, who, my brother who's an animator, Glenn Keane is like one of his heroes. He did the bear in Fox and the Hound. He did Ratigan in Great Mouse Detective and Sykes in Oliver and Company, so he did the villains. So those were the characters that he helped design and then animate. And then he wanted to do Ariel. And people were kind of like, no, you do the weird looking villains. Do you know how to do a pretty girl? And what's amazing about Part of Your World is Glenn Keane emotes better than most 16-year-old girls.
Sure.
Part of Your World I just think is I rewatched that scene in preparation for this episode, and I texted my brother, and I was like, I can't get over this scene. It's magic every time. And he's like, bro, I know. It's so good. The way that her hair moves in the water, the song itself, the way she looks. I should not care about this as much as I do.
Sure.
I should not care. The moment where she talks to her dad, she's like, I'm 16 years old. I've had a child. I'm like, hey, girl, yes, you are. You are a child.
Daddy, I love him.
Shut up, Ariel. But like, part of your world makes me ache for this child and her petty problems.
Sure.
Like, part of your world, I'm there. I'm locked in. I'm loaded. I'm like, yeah, let's get you your dream. Whatever we need to do, we'll make it happen.
And so I just think that the song itself is so powerful and so moving. It makes you emotional as far as music's a funny thing as far as hitting our brain or scratching an itch or firing dopamine or whatever, but some music can do that for people. And I think honestly, this song, whatever reason, can just connect with people and can kind of bring that power and that, like you said, that actual feeling tied to somebody in a otherwise thin story.
Right. Well, and what do you know about Howard Ashman?
I blanking right now. I would maybe if
No, you're good. He did the lyrics for this, Little Shop of Horrors, and Beauty and the Beast were the three things he worked on with Alan Menken. Howard Ashman passed away during Aladdin, I believe. Oh yeah, he also did a good chunk of Aladdin, but he passed away during Aladdin due to HIV/AIDS complications.
Oh, okay.
So, watching Little Mermaid at this time, you think about, 1989, the gay movement was not what it is today.
Sure.
And so Howard Ashman, being a gay man, I think part of the reason that Part of Your World is so kind of poignant and beautiful and just hits, like, it's firing all cylinders, is because I think a lot of that is Howard Ashman looking in, being like, I just want to be part of this world. Wow. I can relate as someone who grew up very Christian and gay. It's like a big thing I try to get across to my friends who are very conservative or very Christian is I'm like, we want, like, gay people aren't this other thing. We want what you want. Yeah. We want to feel loved. We want to have someone to love. We want to have human connection. Like, we have interests and everything same as you. We're just attracted to the same gender.
Yeah.
That's it. And fortunately, we live in a day and age now where while we still have a long way to go, I don't feel like I have to kind of hide in the shadows. And I think, in the late 80s, 90s, it was much more, there was a lot more hiding, a lot more lurking in the shadows. And so, I don't know, I think that's just really interesting when you look at Ariel's character as this, this fish out of water, as this character who doesn't belong, who doesn't fit in. I think that's someone that Howard Ashman can really connect to. And I think that's a big part of why the music is so good. And I think that's kind of why it works for Beauty and the Beast as well. I've said before, my favorite lyric ever in Beauty and the Beast, and possibly in Disney, is I want adventure in the great wide somewhere. I want it more than I can tell. And for once, it might be grand to have someone understand.
Mm-hmm.
Howard Ashman wrote those lyrics, and it's just like, oh, like that hits. And that's how I feel about Part of Your World. There are just moments that you look, and again, I'm getting chills. I yearn and I ache for this 16-year-old girl, and I should not care. I should not give a damn. And I do.
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing all that. My take with this movie was that it's not about anything. It's just kind of, it's very thin. And I came up with that take after watching Ponyo, and where Ponyo is very similar in that it's straightforward, but at the same time you see things like when the boats are going by this town and you're underwater and it's really polluted, and you can clearly feel that there's these messages throughout about environmentalism and taking care of things. And what love really is. And we'll get to Ponyo. I'm not going to spend too much time here on that. But so that's kind of where I was like, okay, Little Mermaid, girl falls in love with boy, daddy, I love him. And it's like, okay, roll my eyes, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you shared that. I don't know that that's a perspective that I personally had or picked up on. I've probably always fit in pretty well in the spaces that I've been in. And so it's helpful for me to hear other perspectives and to be open to that so that I can understand how things can hit people in different ways. I think especially when you look at the background, when you look at Howard Ashman, what he's gone through and some of the behind the scenes of things like this, you're like, in the 80s, 90s, and we've come to a point now where we have a gay character in Disney media and movies, and it really bothers Snoop Dogg, but at least we're having that conversation. Did you not hear
What
about
is this?
that?
I don't know about this. No.
Snoop Dogg basically said that he's scared to go to the movies nowadays because he went to Buzz Lightyear and his grandson was asking him why there was two moms instead of, whatever nuclear family that he's used to. And he's like, how can I answer that question? And so anyways, Snoop Dogg is...
You say some people have two moms, some people have two dads, and some people have a mom and a dad. It's that simple.
Exactly. It is not that hard at all. And there was also the rumors that Elio had more of a sexual identity subplot or something that they cut out. So there's still some struggles and a lot of progress we have to go through today. I'm not saying that those issues aren't prevalent. We still have work to do, but I think to your point, that is a huge realization of me of in the 80s and 90s, writing a song like this that isn't directly, Sebastian isn't directly a gay character, but he can write this song that he knows he feels something about. And I'm sure there's kids like you or other people that can pick up a lot of those themes or those true feelings of hope just by listening to a song like this. So I can really appreciate that. Right. And I'm glad you shared that. That's a wonderful perspective to have.
Yeah, looking at these two films, you were like, Ponyo has messaging, Ponyo has themes. And you were like, what's the theme of Little Mermaid? Love? And I was like, yeah, pretty much.
I don't actually, I'm not going to walk back that take either. I do think that corporate Disney still is very vanilla as far as what they're willing to do. And I wish they were more progressive and they could have said something in Little Mermaid more than what they did and being subtle about it. But, it's we love Studio Ghibli. We love them for being able to have those types of messaging in their films. But, yeah, it's a hot take. I know.
I mean, the thing is, though, you told me that and I was like, you're not wrong, though. Like, you're not wrong. That's facts. And I have a lot of love for Little Mermaid because I like I said, I was watching the Disney animated classics in order. You have to slog through like 10-ish movies that are anywhere from bad to like mediocre. So when you watch Little Mermaid after slogging through like 2 decades of movies that are meh, like Little Mermaid comes on the scene, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is what animation should look like. This is what music should sound like. This is what the score is so good. Yeah. The songs, yes, the singing songs. I was listening to the score a lot as well as I, in the car and stuff as I was kind of mulling over these movies. And the line that keeps coming through whenever there's something big happening, it's usually around Ursula. It's like the da 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 da. Mm-hmm. The amount of times that kind of runs through. I mean, at the end of Poor Unfortunate Souls, it does a whole stream where it's like da 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 da. Like, there's just so many parts of it that I'm just like, this score is fire. This score is so freaking good.
Yeah. Did this movie ever get adapted into a like Lion King has the Broadway show? This did?
Yes.
Okay.
Sierra Boggess, I don't know how to pronounce it. But
Okay.
she also was Christine in the Royal Albert Hall version of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh,
She was
awesome.
Ariel
Great.
on Broadway. Yeah.
I will say on that same thought line though, when you're talking about adaptations or reimagining or that type of thing, I think musicals is a very good way to go. I think that's a good way to take a nice art form and keep a nice art form in another way.
Well, and again, because these were Alan Menken and Howard Ashman were Broadway guys. I think that's the reason why a lot of Disney's in that age can translate so easily to Broadway, is because it's like these are Broadway songs. They're showstoppers.
Yeah.
Like we have showstoppers, we have ballads, we have that's
Reprise.
what this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the reprises in Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast are both so good.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you were going the other way with that take. I'm glad. Yes, I agree. Because this one doesn't it have the amazing scene, or maybe it's part of the original song. No, this is the reprise. Yes. Is this the reprise or?
Yeah, it's because she takes me to the beach and she has the whole like, what would I give to be where you are? What would I do to stay here beside you or whatever? And then, she jumps back in the water.
Chills.
Grimsby shows up, and then, she's looking in and the whole, I don't know where, I don't know how, but I know something's starting right now. And, has the whole, part of
chills.
It.
That's probably my favorite single part of this movie. It is that animation or the drawing is based off of the Little Mermaid statue in Copenhagen. It's very famous.
Yeah.
So I love when you can take real world inspiration or things like that. I love when your whatever post on social media and it'll show some famous painting from the Renaissance, and then it'll show a movie frame that's trying to kind of elicit that same feeling. Again, I will have a whole episode at some point about remakes and reimagining. And I think that is exactly doing it the right way, is when you're taking a piece of art, whether that's physical or a movie or whatever, and you are taking inspiration for that and paying homage to it, but also making something new and unique and beautiful as well. So I love that scene and that imagery, and I think it's just really well done.
No, I agree. It's very, very powerful. It kind of kicks off the rest of the movie. The other reprise I want to talk about, though, is, and we haven't talked about even the original song, and I do want to talk about this because I want to get into Ursula a little bit, but the Poor Unfortunate Souls reprise.
Mm-hmm.
When she's at that point, Vanessa, and she's singing, I'll have that little mermaid and the ocean will be mine. That whole scene, too, like, is creepy. Now I watch it and I'm like, this is chilling. Like, that reprise is so good.
I was looking over at Oliver like, you good, bro? You gonna be okay through this? He's only 3, but he didn't seem to have any issues. He's afraid of ghosts right now, whatever's going on there. We're not really sure, but we're dealing with that. But he was fine through this.
Excellent. Okay. I also Poor Unfortunate Souls, I just think is so good. So good.
Tell me about the design of Ursula.
I was about to say, did you know that Ursula was based on a drag queen?
I did know that because you told me.
Yes. I forget the things that I tell you. But it's the drag queen Divine, who she was in a lot of John Waters movies, which I think someday it would be interesting to look at his filmography. But These are ones that are not mainstream, but I feel like film people know what they are. So there's, I think it's called Pink Flamingos, but there's also, he did the original Hairspray. He did Female Trouble is another one that Divine was in. That's in the Criterion Collection that is very popular. So Divine was this drag queen who was just she and John Waters worked on a lot of different projects together. And that's where a lot of Ursula's design came from. And not even just that. So same thing, kind of going back to Howard Ashman. He didn't want to just have her like design be based on her. He didn't want to look like her. He wanted to infuse Ursula's character with a lot of drag queen energy.
Yeah.
So the way that she walks, the way that she talks, the lyrics in Poor Unfortunate Souls, the kind of the tune, and the way it's very Poor Unfortunate Souls is very showy.
Yes.
It's very catchy. It's her being very flamboyant. You know, she's talking a lot. She's even the way, you know, the don't underestimate the importance of body language.
Right.
Like things like there's a lot of like queer energy in that song. And I think that's kind of what Howard Ashman was going for. Is it wasn't just, oh, Divine looks like this, let's make Ursula look like that too. It was, no, I want to kind of infuse that kind of showy showstopper energy. We want this to be a performance. We want this to be, you know, Poor Unfortunate Souls isn't just the villain song that you skip. We want this to kind of bring the house down.
Yeah.
And that's what it does.
It does. It brings everything down. It's great.
I love when I don't remember what she says, but she says the word tongue as she pulls a tongue out of a pot and throws it in her cauldron. And I don't know. It's she who holds her tongue who gets her man is what she says. She pulls this tongue out and throws it in. And the way that the animators spent hours looking at octopi too, and how squids and octopi move when they're closer to the seafloor as opposed to when they're kind of up and about, and just the way her tentacles curl and move and kind of envelop Ariel as well. There's moments that feel very claustrophobic, especially with the eels kind of doing the same thing. Just, I'm sorry, I could gush about this movie and these songs and these scenes for hours.
I could listen for hours. It's really fascinating to hear a perspective from someone that really loves this movie and kind of picking up on some things that I definitely don't always pick up on when watching something. You either pick up on things on your own and kind of just have this feeling within you of like you've been talking about of some of these seeing things that you're like, that connects with me, or I can relate to that. It's not about a boy, but it's about me and wanting to be real and be me. And yeah, I didn't have that, but I think that with movies or media or any sort of art form, the more that you watch and try to understand or try to look at things, I think the better you can get at picking up on some of those themes.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm excited to keep listening to you talk through a lot of different movies as we go, and hopefully I can learn more of these skills to be able to kind of pick up on some of those things that do bring this deeper or richer experience. And I think a part of that, obviously we've talked a lot about Howard Ashman. I think a part of that is understanding the background of these movies, why they're getting made, who's involved, and what their motivations or their insight are to the movies. Powerful thing about movies, and a powerful thing about listening to you talk through something that you so obviously care so deeply about. So any last thoughts on Little Mermaid?
I just want to touch on the fact that I understand that this has feminist problems.
Oh, sure.
I don't really care. Like, I shouldn't say that, because I talked about in my top 5, like, so many of them are feminist masterpieces, and I am such a huge feminist, and I'm very, curious, and I do a lot of exploration on gender representation in film. This has problems, and I recognize that. Like, if I had, the way I've heard it said by people, and I think I agree, is I'm like, look, if I was a young girl watching this would be problematic. I'm not a young girl watching this. I am capable of being able to see this as a beautiful work of art and be able to separate the idea of a woman giving up her voice. Like, I immediately, my hackles kind of rise up, and I'm like, beg your pardon? And, especially for, a man, or even just someone you don't at all know, and leaving everything you know and love for a dude bro who, like, because here's the thing, Eric is boring. Eric is boring and bland. He's pretty, and that's about all he's got going for him. He's boring as hell.
He can play flute.
Good for him. Great. Cheers for the pretty man who can play the flute. Like, He's boring. He's fine. And yeah, like this movie has feminist problems. There are parts of it that I do find empowering. And like, you know, if I had a little daughter or niece or something that I was watching this with, we would be having a discussion, probably before and after, where I would be like, hey, these are things you don't do. This is things that the movie teaches you that are wrong. Because I have friends who have big problems with this movie. And I understand it to a degree. I understand that they're basically like, you know, this has subliminal messaging that's really, you know, damaging and incorrect. I do see that and I acknowledge that. The movie's also a stone cold masterpiece. And again, I'm not a young, impressionable girl. I am an adult who can look at this and I can watch, you know, her give up her voice and be like, that's problematic. That's an issue. You shouldn't spend, you know, she spends the whole half the movie not saying anything. That's a problem. I'm not going to let that take away the fact that I just love watching this. I love watching the way these characters move in the water. I love watching Part of Your World. I love watching Kiss the Girl. I love Under the Sea is a banger. I love listening to this score when I'm driving around. I love the character of Ursula. I love, like, there's just so much about this that I love. Just as a whole, I do think this is magic, and it gives me those feelings that, yeah, it's got feminist problems. I don't feel like that takes away the quality for me.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. Okay, so what's your star rating for The Little Mermaid?
The most recent watch through, I gave it 5 stars. Going through this time, I think I'm sitting at 4.5.
Okay.
There are a couple things that I do have, you know, minor issues with. And again, the feminist problems I do have to acknowledge because, again, I look at it and I'm like, these are problematic. But yeah. I still think it's a near perfect film. Like 4.5 stars. No, I don't see it ever falling lower than that.
Great.
You?
It's just so hard on a movie. I've probably seen a dozen or more times. I think the music is phenomenal. I don't know. I think I do lose the plot. And so I think I would, if I had to say something, I'd probably say personally, objectively, myself, 3.5. But then I would say, like, from the technical production standpoint, it's one of the best out there is what I would say. Like, it's the way her hair moves in the water. That's something that we noticed. The music, it's incredible. So from myself rating this movie personally, I would say, again, a 3.5, but I could fight for this from a technical and artistic standpoint any day of the week is how I will rate that.
Okay. I think I can get on board with that.
Cool.
I can acknowledge that. All right. So our arts, like I said, we mentioned at the beginning, Ponyo came out in 2008, directed and written by Hayao Miyazaki, starring Yuria Nara and Hiroki Doi. You know, Miyazaki says it is inspired by The Little Mermaid, the Hans Christian Andersen story, not the Disney version. So they both pulled from the same source material, but I think definitely took different takes on it.
Yes, and I think we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I do find it fascinating that this was distributed by Disney for the English dub. Right. And so he worked a lot with John Lasseter, who, for those that know, is very involved in Pixar. I think that part of it is so interesting that Disney was, first of all, willing. I'm sure there was money involved that they said, sure, but through that process, at least, Miyazaki and Lasseter were both very complimentary of each other. I do think that that's very interesting that those two in particular, when you're looking at Pixar, which is kind of the forefront of computer animation, versus this, which is hand-drawn, and both of them working together and being understanding of each other, I think is very fascinating.
Did you know that Studio Ghibli had done some computer stuff? Like, the first time they used computers in their animation process was in Princess Mononoke. Okay. And then it was also used so that was in the 90s, and it was also used in Spirited Away, maybe one or two more. But Ponyo, Miyazaki specifically was like, nope, I don't want any of this to be aided with computers. I want every single piece of this movie to be hand-drawn.
Yeah, I've got a quote from him if I could read that.
Please, yeah.
Yeah, he says, I realized that by using computers, what we were doing is that people who could draw by hand, the computer somehow entered in their heads. So they were starting to draw to fit the computer images, and I thought that was the wrong way to go.
I know which specific parts in Princess Mononoke the computer assists with, and I think it does a really good job. I do also kind of get where he's coming from with this, because the animation of the water in this movie is wild.
Yeah.
The little like water eel things they look so good. Like they're so cool. And the scene where Ponyo is like running on top of the water waves. Yeah, I'm kind of with him on this one. I love that this is all hand drawn because it looks fire.
Yeah, the whole storm is just an incredible feat to be able to just watch that and be like, oh my gosh, they drew this? This is incredible. And I think actually this is a less significant scene, but I think one of my favorite scenes or visuals of the whole movie is when he's driving in the car with his mom and it shows the outside passing by, and it's passing by fast, and it's just squiggles of lots of different colors in it. And I think that it was just so beautiful, because I was like, yeah, that is hand drawn, and they had to do a lot of them to make it looking going all fast and stuff. And I was like, I really just like that.
Yeah. Also, Ponyo's just like, this movie's just cute.
Yeah. Yes.
This movie's so freaking cute.
Yeah, just beautiful, and just makes it kind of happy inside.
Agreed. It's very like cutesy and warm, and yeah.
What difference does it make for you in your viewing experience of knowing something is hand drawn versus computer generated? And I'm curious. Obviously we weren't really around back when these debates were happening as far as computer animation coming onto the scene. I wonder if they were similar conversations to AI, but I think that it is very different, and I think that AI is bad and always will be bad. In this context, I will say.
Okay. As far as AI, I just don't like using AI as a replacement for human ingenuity and human creativity.
Yes.
And as far as computer animation, I think it's kind of similar to how I feel about CGI. I think that I really love practical effects, and I like to see CGI enhance that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Lord of the Rings is a great example. There are parts of that are CGI, but I feel like it enhances, they built the sets.
I was going to use Lord of the Rings as an example as we're having this conversation, because you look at like the ride of Rohirrim, where, the third movie, and they have people on horses, real people, real horses, and they're riding, but then they also have a model that uses CGI and machine learning, I think, or whatever, that kind of, they built this really, really impressive computer model, essentially, that you can input all these people into the battle, and they will act independently and do all these different battle things. And that's where, like you're saying, where it enhances, and they are doing so much work of practical and visual and all these different things, and it's just used to enhance. And I think that's a good way to use it. And that's where I'm okay if AI is going to continue to kind of help streamline some of those types of things, but without removing the human element or heart of the things, then that's where I'm okay, with the caveat, as long as we figure out the environmental issue along with AI. So that's an important thing as well. It's very environmentally destructive right now, and we need to kind of rein that in and figure out that issue with it. But anyways, when it comes to media, when it comes to especially animation, if you're generating images based on other people's artwork that is not your original thought or process, that really takes it away from me. And it can be the best movie ever, and I will have no interest in seeing it if I know that it's just computer generated, stealing off of other people's images and thoughts and ideas. So yeah.
Yeah, and as far as just 2D versus 3D animation as well, I think there was a period where I found computer animation to be very pretty. I mean, I even look at, some of the Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc. I look at CGI now, or 3D computer animated things now. So many of them look so plastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It looks plastic. It looks fake. The rendering on it is either over rendered or under rendered. I don't know. It just, like, I even asked my brother, I was sending him characters side by side from Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. And I was like, why does the Monsters U one look worse? What is the problem? Why does this look bad when it came after? And there's a few reasons that we don't need to get into, but 2D animation, I don't have a vendetta against 3D animation when it's done right. I just think for some reason lately it looks really plastic and not in a way that I think is like stylistically interesting. It just looks, in my opinion, boring and bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a life and an energy in 2D animation that I really love. So I don't know. I tend to pretty much be on the hand-drawn 2D animation train because I just think it's prettier. I am kind of longing and yearning for 2D animation.
Yeah, totally get that. And I don't know if this is just me screaming into the void and banging my fists on the table and nobody actually cares, but I don't know why. Just in the last year, maybe it's just this huge rise of AI, but I've just been like, movies that are practical or animation that is hand drawn and all these different things, that's what, I don't know, I've just become so much more passionate about it. And I think that's what makes Ponyo so special, is that Miyazaki was so intentional about it. He's a little bit of a micromanager, a little bit of a perfectionist.
Oh yes.
There were times,
more than a little bit.
I assume he's like this in all of his movies, but I was specifically reading or listening to something that said that he would redraw scenes here, be like, no. In particular, it was when Ponyo does become a little girl and she's running to go give a hug. And that was a scene that he had to redraw because he was like, no, the emotions aren't quite right. We need to have this exactly right. This is a big scene for us. So he redrew that. And I think the intentionality of it all is so apparent. And it is to an extent moving just to be able to watch someone's art form come to real fruition. And I think it even extends to the themes of the movie, right? So
yeah,
part of what I was kind of picking up on and why I texted you what The Little Mermaid isn't about anything, I don't feel like in The Little Mermaid you really get an understanding of what it means to be human, versus Ponyo, you can like see connection being made with Sosuke. You can see, I love the food scenes, and I think most people really love the food scenes. When I was watching with Oliver, when they're making the honey tea drink, he was just watching and he said, I want to taste some of that. And so, the 3-year-old can recognize that, the ramen looks so delicious. The ham looks so good. And so I think just, you can feel this warmth. You can feel this yearning of, that's what it means to be human, right? To make connections with people, to have food that you love, to experience disappointment, but to have people around you that love you. And so I really felt that watching this movie. I really felt the intentionality, just the deliberateness of the animation and how that kind of tied into these feelings of being a human, of being connected.
No, I think that's a great point. I was actually going to ask, like, what themes did you pick up on Ponyo? And I think that's a good point. My counterpoint would be that I do think Little Mermaid does some of that with what it means to be human, but I understand what you're saying. There is because it's in the eyes of like 2 5-year-olds, basically, Ponyo has this childlike wonder and excitement about everything.
Right.
Like a lantern is all of a sudden exciting. Yeah, the food looks like the most delicious food you've ever had, because I'm sure to the character of Ponyo it is.
Mm-hmm.
it's exciting, and we're kind of being able to see it through her eyes. Another theme I want to talk about, and you mentioned a little earlier, Miyazaki is big on environmentalism.
Oh yeah.
And you can see that in most of his. I mean, in My Neighbor Totoro, it's pretty much all about these, forest spirits. Princess Mononoke, I think, is probably the most, I don't want to say aggressive, but the most
direct,
forward, blunt, direct. Yeah, it does not beat around the bush as far as its messaging on environmentalism at all. Yeah, and there's a lot of other. Pompoko is another one. He is big on just kind of environmentalism in film, and I think, right off the bat you see that with the pollution in the water, and then with just how the big storm and it basically emerges into a tsunami, how that affects the Japanese mainland, so to speak. But yeah, that was one thing that I just kind of wrote down, as I was like, environmentalism is a big thing for Miyazaki. I would say most of his movies either have something to do with environmentalism or have something to do with anti-war. He's also very, very much a pacifist, very anti-war.
Yes, love that. So, question for you.
Yeah.
Ponyo is a goldfish?
Yes.
I just thought that's funny.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just so unique in the design and what it is. It's kind of fun, it's not a literal looking goldfish by any sense of the word.
Oh, no.
But it's fun.
No. It is fun. A couple of my critiques, I do think about 15 to 20 minutes could have been cut.
Yeah, I would agree.
In like the middle. After the storm, when they're doing their little boat ride, that's when I tend to kind of check out just a little bit. I'm less interested. I'm less locked in. And there are definite leaps in logic.
Sure.
Like the whole, the true love thing. And I'm like, they're 5.
Right.
What do you mean, this true love nonsense? That being said, I feel like this movie is almost like written for and by children. And I've said this before about some Miyazaki films. I think sometimes you don't need answers. You just need to sit back and enjoy the show. And I think sometimes when you try to go into certain Studio Ghibli films and you're like, well, I need to like Porco Rosso, it's about a man who, it mentions that there is a curse and he looks like a pig. We don't get any of that backstory. Mm-hmm. We don't know why he was cursed. We don't know how. There's no breaking of the curse. That's not the point of the story. And that's kind of how I feel about some others, is that I'm just like, don't ask questions. Is it pretty? Do you like it? Good. Sit down, shut up, and watch the movie. Sometimes you don't need the answers. And this is one of those Studio Ghibli films that I'm like, this is most definitely like for kids. Porco Rosso, mm-hmm. I would not suggest that a child under 10 to 12 watch.
Sure.
Ponyo, again, like your 3-year-old son, I'm like, yeah, I think a 2 or 3-year-old could watch this and have a great time. And I find that delightful.
When you look at arts versus charts, and I'm not saying that Little Mermaid is doing this deliberately, but you kind of talk about how the studio was at a crossroads. They needed a success. They needed something that was going to work. And so you have a lot of moments that the studio heads, as they're screening this or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, this is going to do great. This is going to get everyone interested in our stuff and in our songs. Versus Ponyo and Miyazaki, he doesn't care. He has his vision of, he does care, but he has his vision of what story he wants to tell and the feelings he wants to elicit and the things he wants to do. And he's going to go and he's going to do that. And so is there a way to make this a more commercially successful movie? Yeah, for sure. There's things you could change or do or make it so it is that way, but that's not his intent. And so I think that's a way you can kind of look at some of the differences in these two movies. Yeah, and that's painting with really broad strokes. That's really broad strokes, oversimplifying. It's obviously a lot more goes into making any movie, and these movies, any movie alike, but yeah, I think it's worth
but I see what you're
looking
saying.
at that a little.
Disney was backed against the wall, and Disney was like, we need a hit. We need something that's going to make money a lot of money and is going to put us back on the map. Because at this point, Don Bluth had left and Don Bluth was kicking their butt.
Mm-hmm.
So Don Bluth was making things and Disney was struggling. Their backs were against the wall. They needed a hit. Ponyo didn't need to be a hit. It's not like Studio Ghibli was struggling. It's not like it was about to be closed. I agree that it is an oversimplification a little bit because movies do need to make, and studios do need to make money. That's part of the business of film. But I do think there is different context in that Disney needed a hit desperately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Miyazaki didn't need a hit with Ponyo. Yeah, you
Right.
wanted to make money, but Miyazaki, I think you're right, in a lot of ways cares more about the art of it. All right, so would you recommend Ponyo if someone loved The Little Mermaid?
I don't think it would be my first recommendation.
Okay.
But I think I wouldn't say don't watch it, but I think I'd probably pick something else as my first few, but then I would say if you want to watch a similar story with some similar beats, but very different and a different take on this, older fairy tale, then yeah, watch Ponyo. But if you're looking for something like The Little Mermaid, I'd probably say no.
Okay, interesting. Because when we did our prison one, I said like Shawshank I think is more fun to watch. And if someone loved Shawshank, I wouldn't then be like, oh, I think you're really going to like Sing Sing.
Right.
This one feels closer to me. I feel like if someone was like,
really?
oh yeah, I love The Little Mermaid, I would be like, give Ponyo a shot. Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know if it's just the animation or I think they're both, cutesy. I think they're both fish out of water. I think they both are basically about a girl who yearns to be on land with a boy. I think there are similar things, and I think Ponyo has a high enjoyability level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I think if someone liked The Little Mermaid, I could pretty confidently just recommend Ponyo in general.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So what'd you rate it out of 5?
But start. That's what I was gonna just ask you. This is a 4-star for me.
Me too. 4-star.
Awesome. Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's got problems with the story. It's not perfect, but there's so much that I love about it, and I have a really good time watching it that I'm just like, yeah, I think it's a solid. The animation alone, I feel like, gives it a lot of weight, and then I'm into the story enough that I'm like, yeah, I can confidently give this one 4 stars.
Yeah, no, I can agree with everything you just said. I don't have much more to say, but check out the song, Ponyo, 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 Little Fishy in the Sea.
Well, I think that's a wrap. We will catch you next time.
Bye.